And it's loading.
Hey Sumolings, what's up? Happy Thursday. I'm Christy with AppSumo, and today I'm joined by Martin, who's one of the founders of HistorySearch. Martin, welcome.
Thank you.
Happy to have you. So if you guys aren't familiar with HistorySearch, it is an incredibly useful tool. I remember when I did the demo for it, I was so excited because it's one of those tools that once you see it, you say, where have you been all my life? Because it is so incredibly useful. But it's essentially an online file system that helps you quickly find important articles, documents, emails, and other web pages that you've already visited. And it's on AppSumo right now for a lifetime for only $39. So it's a really great deal, especially if you're like me who reads a lot on the internet and thinks, oh man, like what was that article I read? I want to find it again, and you can never find it. So HistorySearch is going to be your best friend. All right, we already have Ken who's saying howdy from warm and rainy Chicago. Awesome. So people can see us and hear us. That's the good news. Guys, right now you're seeing the both of us, but in a second, Martin's going to take it away. He's going to take you through a demo and walkthrough of HistorySearch. He's also going to give you some use cases that you can use to better use the tool. And then at the end of the webinar, I'm going to come back on and ask him your questions. So if at any point during the demo you have a question for him, go ahead and put it in the chat box. We'll answer all of those questions at the end. And if you can't stay until the end, that's also okay, because I'll be sending out a replay of this webinar to all of you who have registered later today. So I think we're aiming for this to last anywhere between 30 minutes and an hour. So without further ado, Martin, let's just double check that your screen sharing is working. Once that's working, I'll go ahead and let you take it away.
Great. I'm going to share the screen now. 3, 2, 1, and sharing the right window. That should be it. Yes, we're on.
Yes, I can see it. All right, I'm shutting my camera down. You're good.
Great. All right. Well, first of all, hi, everyone. I'm Martijn, as Christy just introduced me, and I'm going to give you a walkthrough. I thought it would be cool to just quickly run you all through the product, the ins and outs of how it works, and then dive into the most important thing for you all is how can it be useful. So HistorySearch, what it does, the idea behind HistorySearch, let's say we go to CNN.com, is that when I visit a page, is that it's going to index the page as I see it. So let's say, for example, if I'm looking at, for example, CNN website. Now, actually know that last week I blacklisted this site, which actually we can dive straight into that as well, is just to test it. We've got some way to blacklist it. Now I will remove the blacklist and refresh the page. And then what happens is that the whole page will be indexed and it will appear as a searchable record. So the cool thing is now, for example, let's say I remember something like Big Tusker, then I can use more or less anything I remember to find back that page. And then we've got something here which is called previews. It's like a way you can toggle it by clicking the icon here or just clicking the space bar. And then it'll give you the page, and whenever you click it, it's going to open the page for you. So it's going to retrieve something you need very quickly. Well, there is a very large set of use cases how you could use this, and we're going to talk about them in a few minutes. And right now, I'm going to show you a few more features that we've built into HistorySearch. So we've got something here which is called the time span filter. And it works more or less how we usually remember things. We remember things in a more or less kind of ways, like 1 or 2 days ago, and for sure not 2 weeks ago. That's how we designed the filter to work as well. So we could say, for example, Big Tusker, and right now it's not the perfect example, but I could say, yeah, it was between today and yesterday. Or I could say it was between definitely more than 1 week ago, but it wasn't 1 month ago. And this way...
Martin? Can you hear me? You know what we are not seeing is the HistorySearch screen up, because we are not seeing it.
You're not seeing
the only thing we're seeing right now is the CNN website. We're not seeing anything else. We're not seeing the little HistorySearch drop-down screen that comes up. We do not see that right now.
Oh, well, thank you for letting me know. I'm going to change the screen sharing. It was just sharing the application window. Sorry. So
yeah, no, that's okay.
Really, thank you for letting me know. Now you guys see it, I guess, right?
Let's see. Yes, now we can see it. Yeah.
All right, awesome.
There we
go.
So
1 second, I'm actually very sorry, but I have to get my charger. Blah. So how it works, what I was actually just explaining before, I'll run you through the visual, is like now you could, for example, like type Big Tusker here, and then you can hover this little icon or click the space bar whenever you have it opened to toggle the preview. Sorry for that. Here it goes. So this is a way to recognize the pages very quickly, and we'll dive into some use cases of this in a bit as well. To go quickly back to the time span, I already explained like the idea behind it to you guys, but this is what it looks like. So you just drag and drop within the frame that you remember it. So you could say like more than 1 day ago, but less than 2 weeks ago. And if you hover it, it actually shows you the actual date as well for those who want this. There is another cool thing is we believe that things should be automatic and shouldn't require you to endlessly sort everything manually. That's the sorting. So you can sort by list or by domain. And we've got a bunch of hotkeys set up. So like now I'm using my arrows. If you click tab, you jump between them. And if you click enter, it actually opens the URL you're on. So if we want to find, for example, everything on CNN that relates to Big Tusker, I would just go here, toggle the preview, and voila, open the page when I need it. Now we can go into something that we call collections. So every result, every record in the in History Search has this little icon here, and when you click it, you can add it to a collection. And by adding it, for example, to favorites, it's going to show up in your favorites collection. And collections is like a pretty cool concept because collections are contrary to how current solutions work. I wanted to build a kind of file system structure that was not the traditional structure where you have like files in files and then subfolders and then more files and then something that gets a big mess. So what we did is you can add any page. By the way, there is a hotkey as well. If you hold like Control on Windows or CMD on Mac, you can add your current tab that you're on to any collection. So let's say I'm going to add this now page about this Big Tusker to 3 collections. I can type here Big Tusker, and it'll actually show me the results across all collections, which is super useful. It actually doesn't duplicate the record. It's just a way for you to add more types of sorting. Within 1.5 months, we're going to add something really cool here as well, and it's what we call like live search. Obviously, you're going to get like the search suggestions as you type, but the idea is going to be that you can like type favorites and then, for example, launch book or something like this. And then when you type them both, they'll turn into a type of tags. And the cool thing is then it'll show you all pages that are both in launch book and both in favorites. So it's going to be like a new solution to really advanced categorizing without taking you a lot of time. Something else that we're working on right now already, it's going to come probably towards the end of Q2, beginning of Q3, is that collections are going to become shareable. Another cool thing is the concept of workspaces. We've introduced an early feature here already, but let's say I'm going to create a workspace. Let's change the name here and call it Workspace. And this would be my workspace for AppSumo or whatever. And then I will I'll just remove from collection, and then remove this from collection, and remove this from collection. And then we'll say, okay, we're going to add this tab, which is about documentation. We're going to add the roadmap to it as well. And then now I would, for example, close my browser, and then the next day I could just come here and click Open All in Collection, and then it'll open everything in that collection. So we're going to work on this idea more too, and it's really going to turn into like grouped web pages. So it's going to be like switching apps on Mac, but then sets of web pages that you frequently use. And we haven't developed it completely yet, but the UI is going to be similar to how it works on Mac or other services. So that's going to be really fun. Now back to what we have right now. We have an easy way to create collections. It's a little bit hidden, I know, but we deliberately decided to make it non-obvious, is because once you do know how to create a collection by clicking here, it's not going to be in the way. By default, collections are named to the current time and date, but you can just name them whatever you like, and then you can also add a description. So let's say presentation, and then something AppSumo. Obviously, you can also go within collection, for example, my favorites here, and then search within here as well, and then only see the pages that match. So if we would go back to the recents view, there is something else. We have created something cool. So like if you click here, it's going to open the web page, but if you click the URL, it's going to show you everything you did on that page. Like, you know, YouTube history, I think no one could live without YouTube history because it's awesome. And I think every website should have this. That's what we're also implementing here. So here you could see like your entire history on Trello. And something we also have on the backlog, actually, I'll make sure that we share the link afterwards in the chat about our roadmap, is that we're working on something that we call Domain Navigator. And Domain Navigator is going to be like an additional feature that'll more or less implement this functionality within the current web page so that you can very quickly navigate through back to things you've been doing there. So let's say you need to go to a document that you were working on Google Docs, you can just go 2 steps back and grab it from there. So if we would go back to this page, we've more or less covered the features. Oh yeah, I can also show you that you can search within here. So let's say we're reading about documents, and now I want the documents that are about Medium. Let's say I have several results. I can just toggle the previews and then say, oh no, it's not this page because it's the overview page. Oh, it's this page. Boom, let's open it. So right now we're going to go to the thing I mentioned earlier. It's about like different ways to use history search. One of them is, let's say, yeah, articles. I mean, like sometimes we've been looking and bookmarking and taking notes of so many articles that it becomes really hard to organize. With history search, like just a few ways how you could search it is you could, for example, use a title, a comment you might have read, a quote that you remember and stood out, or even tags that are present on the page, or anything else you can come up with. So this is a very general use case, but we also have more specific use cases. For example, let's say if you're working as a developer, like obviously what we're doing, it's a really handy and useful way to retrieve documentation. So you could literally copy paste an error that you get in the console to retrieve documents that helped you solve it before. Actually, this is my personal example. You could use a function name, you could use keywords or even topics, and then it'll get you the pages that you need. So if we would look into a little bit more general solution, it would be, for example, your own shopping collection is what we've called it. And here it would be, let's say I've spent a few hours finding the ultimate Hugo Boss jacket, and I was like, yeah, I want to buy this jacket, but then, yeah, we don't always buy it right away. Often it takes like 1 or 2 weeks, or only 3 weeks later we decide, okay, now we want it. So then you don't want to have to go find that jacket all over again. And with history search, you just type in the keywords, you toggle the preview, and you find whatever you're looking for. A few examples could be to search brand names. It could be items such as shoes, but you could also use combinations like small and red. Then here we have another example, which is very useful for designers or for people who work with a tool, for example, like ReadyMag or Figma or other online services, which you primarily use through the browser. One of the problems with ReadyMag is that you get so many links, and actually this counts for almost any other tool you use online, that it becomes really hard to organize. I mean, like, you have to create entire Excel sheets if you don't want to have to go through the entire project page. So how HistorySearch works is you could, for example, in this case, we've just clicked, toggled the domain search, which is mag, and then we add a few keywords, which was the HistorySearch project. Like, actually what you see here was our campaign when we launched on Product Hunt. And then you could be like, oh, I'm not the first, not the second. Actually, I need this page. And then you could search, for example, from text objects that were created on that page, but also, for example, keywords or the name of the project. If we go back to integrations, like, another really interesting one is Twitter. Like, normally if you lose a tweet, it's like gone somewhere in a galaxy of tweets and comments and, yeah, the Twitter universe, we can call it. And with HistorySearch, it's really interesting because there's always someone who's commented something that you remember. Like, as you can see here in this video, Oscar selfie, it's not in the title, it's not in the URL, it's actually a hashtag. And as you will see, like, below, someone who placed a comment. So that would mean that you can now search anything, really. All the context that's been added to the page is going to be useful in finding it back for you, even if you didn't add it yourself. Then what else can we dive into? I mean, like, there is another use case that I really like. It's, for example, on Reddit. On Reddit, it's a little bit the same problem as on Twitter. It's just so huge, only even more complex because of the subreddits, and yeah, it gets very hard to find things. And here you could simply use the keywords you remember and retrieve anything that you saw there. Let's do the last example. It's really useful. It's more or less related to finding documentation. And here you could find any type of documentation just by entering a few keywords. So yeah, these are a few of the use cases. And I think it would be really cool to show you, like, a bit more of the things that make HistorySearch unique. And one of them is relating to the control. Like, we strongly believe that data is owned by the user. So we've created a system that is as far as possible for you to really do with as you want. So here you can really export all indexed records, and they'll be exported to CSV. Obviously, the file can get pretty huge because it's the text on the page that has been indexed together with the URL. So that is an interesting thing there as well. You can filter out websites. So, for example, I filtered PayPal, Telstra, and Google. And there is this interesting syntax here. So you can simply type, like, www. Let's say AppSumo. I don't think you guys should be blocking AppSumo, but let's say you would want to block AppSumo, then you could block AppSumo this way. But we all know that Google, they have a hang of choosing different extensions and subdomains, and you don't want to be blocking maps.google.nl separately from maps.google.com or whatever. So if you really want to block the entire domain, you can just use the asterisk and then a dot and then the name and then also another asterisk, and that'll block the entire page, and it will be completely ignored. It won't be not sent to our servers and then removed. No, it'll just be ignored. The same counts for the context menu. So here, it might look a little bit different in Safari. In Safari, it doesn't show the green icon. With the submenu, it just says immediately the add to blacklist, add to favorites, and add to collection. Here, what you can do is you can also immediately add this page to collections you've created. So you can, yeah, add it right away. You can also blacklist URLs that you're on. When you blacklist it through the context menu, it blacklists this exact domain. So in this case, it would be edition.cnn.com. If you really want to use the advanced blacklisting, you use the asterisks through the filters setting. What else can we walk into? Well, what another way how we can use to remove records is, for example, here. So let's say now we want to remove everything from a domain. We just click remove everything from a domain. And you can also just remove only that page. So those things are up to you. There are a few advanced shortcuts that you'll see like here in the bottom. They're often shown there. So they're not in the way, but if you want to look somewhere, hey, is there something going on? You can check there. And then here it would say, for example, if you hold, in my case, I'm on a Mac, but if you're on a Windows, it'll show Control, or on Linux, it'll show Control as well, and here Command. And if you like hold Command while deleting one page or deleting all from a domain, it'll also blacklist this URL. Keep in mind that if you blacklist a URL, it doesn't go back and removes older records. So if you want to remove records from a domain that you've blacklisted, you just click remove all history from this domain. You can actually do it right here. And now it'll remove everything from the domain. And it's gone. Another interesting thing here is that this little icon is you can just click copy. If you want to send someone the URL, then you could do it this way. We've got a dark theme. I'm really bad. I use the free version myself because I really want to experience the product from the free version point of view right now. Yeah, so we have a dark theme, and for anyone on the professional plan, this is also available. On the personal plan, it's only available if you invite 3 people, or if you're on the free plan, also 3 people. So it's more of a fun thing, and yeah, for professional users, it's available, and for personal users, this might actually be an interesting topic to cover as well while looking at our roadmap. So the idea is we've tried to make history search really accessible, and we want to grow this product to millions of users. I mean, that's what we've tried to base our pricing on. So the personal plan is really built to have the core functionality. It's just to search and to find web pages. We're going to be adding a lot of things on top of that. So like we've had people request page notes. And actually, one of the interesting things on a side note is via the roadmap, the link I'll share with everyone in a bit as well, you already see a bunch of users already voted. You can just click on any card. And then in your case, it'll show a button here with vote. There is also a video here. And then you can vote on your favorite features. Like, for example, here, obviously, a lot of people want a mobile application, which we do have in plan for the coming year. And then we'll filter them into the column, and then everybody will be able to see at any time, exactly when it's expected to be ready. We use these tags where it says like plan all, meaning that it's available to everything. And then we have tags which says professional, and it'll mean that it's available to more professional users. We're going to be adding things such as PDF support as well. It's not available yet, but it's coming soon. We're going to be adding things such as productivity reports, although here you'll notice that it's an add-on. This doesn't necessarily mean it's going to cost a lot of money. Probably not. It's just because it's completely separate from the core functionality, we've marked it as an add-on. And generally, everything that you'll see in the roadmap is either included within the professional plan that your guys are getting now, or within the personal plan that you are getting now too. So there is no plans to really change this or stuff like that. Another thing that we have here, which is like obviously not fully related to the product it is today, but it is part of our community and the culture around history search, is that our community and people, they leave comments about how they want a feature to be. So obviously here, Web Spotlight doesn't mean a lot yet, but as we add more descriptions to it, then people will be adding their comments. For example, here with the collections optimization, we've had a lot of, and this is available to anyone. Like, it would be great if you share how you want the product to work, and we really want to develop the product in a way that a lot of people are part of this process. You can submit feature requests, and hopefully you won't find too many of them, but you can also submit bugs and optimizations right through here. So this is in a very fast view. We've covered what history search does in the extension, and now we will quickly look at history search in web view. So here you can actually use the web view as well, and it supports the same features as in the extension. Only collections are not available here yet. Important note is that we only shipped collections around 3 weeks ago. So this is a new feature. We're still making a lot of improvements. And generally, what we do is we add it to the extension first. There is different browsers. And for example, Chrome is the one that is quickest with updating. So it always goes to Chrome first, and then the other browsers update, and then we add features into the web as well. And here, for example, you're going to be able to see different collections, and also the same features are supported, such as domain search, filtering, and more or less everything else, really. Important information is the browsers we support. We support 5 of the top browsers, and with this almost, I think, at least 97% of the market. I mean, like, we do have Internet Explorer that is sadly not supported just because they don't provide the right API. We even spoke to Microsoft about this, but they're not planning to make any updates because their full focus is on Edge. So we support all of these browsers, and the good thing is when you install HistorySearch across different browsers or even different Google accounts, if you use like different accounts, it doesn't relate to that. It just connects your browser with your account. So it syncs across all of them. So if you use Mac, and if you use a Mac with Firefox, and if you use a Windows PC with Edge, and you log the extension in both places, it's gonna sync, and you'll have your knowledge base in one place. I guess these are the main things. There might be some questions about security. So we've spent over 3.5 years developing HistorySearch, and we've really went from beginning to end through every possible approach that we took. And we really focus on user privacy and security. So if you are interested in the things, how we protect your data and how we protect your privacy and how to protect your account, because this is a bit of teamwork. We make sure that the system is privacy by design. As you'll notice that these, an interesting thing about the photos, the screenshots that you see here, is we actually make sure that they're compressed to a size where the smaller text is not visible. And this entire process takes place on the browser canvas. And the interesting thing is HistorySearch doesn't take up a lot of performance at all. More or less, HistorySearch is equal to one browser tab. So here, one of the important things is what we do and how we protect your privacy, such as privacy by design concepts. And besides that, super important thing is, guys, I'm going to say it now and I'm going to keep saying it, make sure you have a strong password. This is important. So I think I've covered most of the things, and I would very gladly answer any questions. Oh yeah, before we go into it, I've had a lot of questions about this because it's not so obvious, but as you see, like we love design and we love making sure the product looks good. If you already have a free account and you do decide to get AppSumo coupons, you do not have to go to the /AppSumo page to redeem it. You just go to the account settings, and then you click this AppSumo icon, and you can add your coupons here. Also, interesting thing for you guys to know is that we have a lot of docs, and I try to keep everything up to date. So you'll find a lot of answers here about how can you, oh yeah, this is actually a feature that I haven't covered yet. I will quickly cover it, and then we will move to the questions. It's called importing history. So if you go to your account and then search, here you can like change date settings as well. You can, and in Google Display, we'll cover that after that as well. Oh yeah, here is the auto erase history. This is something we had working, and it's really interesting because one of our goals is to make sure that the data after you have it is that other people get less access to it. So one of the things that we've developed is auto erase history. So that means after it's served to your private environment within HistorySearch, it's no longer, for example, available to, for example, Google. But Google claims it's a bug, and they've temporarily disabled this feature, although we do know about a workaround which we're actually implementing, so it'll be back shortly. That's why it's grayed out and not removed. We've got something which is called import previous history, and this is like really cool. And depending on your plan, you can have a different amount of imports. So on the personal plan, you can import 15,000 pages. On the professional plan, unlimited. How does it work? It actually connects to your browser. And this is not supported on Safari on Microsoft Edge because they do not provide the functionality to import the information. On the other browsers, which are Chrome, Firefox, and Opera, it is supported. And you can import history, and what then will happen is it'll start importing the history you have in your browser. But this is not just the title and URL. The title and URL are going to be available within your extension like almost instantly, but our server is actually going to attempt to index the pages for you. So they're going to go back, and let's say you have a URL from CNN, it's actually going to index this page as well. So it's going to try as much as possible going backward to provide you the same functionality you're going to have as when going forward. Then the quick, the in Google display one, which I'll show you here. So we use Google all the time, and Google is, well, more or less great in finding stuff. However, they don't really care about finding stuff back. So let's say if we would type here Big Tusker, and or it would be HistorySearch or something else, you're going to see your history besides Google. It doesn't affect your browser. Like in this case, it just doesn't show the Google extra info here. It's not because we hide it. It's just because it's not here. And if the Google info is here, it's just going to be moved down. So it's completely integrating with it there. If you don't want this feature, you can either hide it once or hide it forever. And then if you do hide it forever and you probably will want to be switching it back on, you just go here and switch it back on. I think this is it. So, Christy, I think if there is nothing that I forgot, I think it's a really good time to move on to the questions.
Perfect. All right. Well, you did a really great job at this demo. And I wanted to tell you that M, who's in the comments, she said, I just jumped on the deal this morning and I'm loving it so far. So yay, M. That's the good news. All right. So we just have a handful of questions. Like I said, you did a really thorough job. And I think you answered a lot of the questions that actually have already come through. But there's just a couple that, that stand out. And so Daniel asked, do pages need to be chosen and indexed manually, or is every single page I visit immediately captured and stored?
Good question. By default, it is. But there is a very interesting functionality, is that you can actually, I haven't showed that one yet, but you can click here, pause indexing, like 5 minutes, 1 hour, 1 day, and then, or until you switch it back on. And then you can actually index pages manually. How would you index the pages manually? Is you would go here and add it to favorites or add it to collection. As you add it to favorites or to collection, only that page will be indexed. But this is not our main feature, obviously, because we prefer automation. So what I do myself is that I blacklist the pages, and I find out that it's not really a lot of pages that I blacklist at all, because there is not that much. Like if you have really things out there, then you just blacklist, for example, on Google Docs if you don't want to index the page. But yeah, that's different per person.
Okay. And so Dennis is asking, and I know we talked a little bit about security, but he said, my overwhelming concern is security. How can you index my stuff if it is encrypted on my computer before going to you? And the most extreme case would be, what happens if you get hacked or get a court order? So
we're a Dutch company, and the Netherlands is super strict on privacy. This is actually one of our bigger visions, and we want to offer like the Swiss bank solution for browsing history, meaning that obviously we're not going to be supporting people who are doing illegal stuff, but our goal is to make sure that your information is going to stay private. The transfer protocols there, for example, if you're talking about how does it get from you to our server, it's TLS, so it's encrypted. And this is all standard, very developed technologies that have been used for the past 5 to 10 years. And yeah, they're very good. Besides that, our servers, we make sure that, like I explained, privacy by design. So we minimize where information is stored, we maximize when data is encrypted, and we try to provide the best experience possible at the same time.
Okay, good answer.
We monitor everything all the time, considering our servers. We make sure everything is up to date, rigorous testing. And actually on historysearch.com/privacy, we explain in detail about, for example, our testing procedures and privacy by design procedures. Plus, oh yeah, the court order, I forgot to answer this, is obviously we're a Dutch company, so we comply only to Dutch courts. And if you've done it, if you've made it that bad that the US is gonna come to the Netherlands, get our government to give us a court order, then yeah. Then
don't do anything illegal. Is what he's trying to say. Okay, so kind of along that same line, what happens to sites that are password protected? Does HistorySearch still index those pages?
Well, HistorySearch indexes the pages that you visit. So in my case, for example, if I go to, we can actually do this right now so that you guys see that I actually do work besides give webinars. Is like, for example, here is one of the
So
tools.
we can't see your screen right now if you're trying to show it to us.
Okay, I'll quickly jump over and share the screen. Thank you for the reminder again. Like here, for example, in Jira, and this is actually one of the things that I really like about the tool, is that I can also retrieve my Jira pages. So it works like the file system on your computer. It's supposed to find the things for you that you're working on, that you're working with, etc., etc. Obviously, if you don't want to index Jira for whatever reason, you go here and add it to blacklist, and then it'll be blacklisted. Also, if you do decide to remove a page or all pages, we don't keep records. Generally, the record is deleted instantly, only due to our hosting partner, who is AWS, who makes backups of their backups, of our backups. It could take legally up to 45 days, but generally it's instant that the page is removed.
Okay, great. And M was asking, are the workspaces available for all levels of HistorySearch or just for the pro version?
Well, the workspaces, they're like, so we have something that we've called collections, and the collections and workspaces, they're gonna be the same thing. So we're not gonna like charge people extra for a workspace or something like that. It's just you use a collection either as a knowledge base, for example, with all your information about JavaScript or about your favorites, or you use it as a workspace. There is no difference there. There is a difference in amount of collections you can create depending on the unlimited or personal plan. Personal plan is 25 collections. Unlimited plan is unlimited everything.
Gotcha. Okay. And I think you already answered this question, but maybe just to reiterate, someone's asking, if I visit a site on Firefox, will the history be available if I search for it in my extension on Chrome?
Yes. So if you have both, so it's not connected to the history of your browser or to your Google account or anything. No, it's integrating within the browser, and wherever you have it installed, it indexes those pages and syncs them across all your accounts, also across the web search.
Awesome. Okay. And so that's it. Those are the only questions that came in. So like I said, you did a really good job. I think people have a good understanding of how to use it. If you could, let them know how they could get a hold of you after this webinar in case they think of any new questions.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, I'm going to start by posting the roadmap as promised.
Perfect.
Also, I saw one funny question here is like about, can I use HS on multiple computers? Yes, and you also had a really funny funny question. It's like, why do you still have so many tabs open? You know, it's mainly the difference with HistorySearch is not that you won't be opening tabs at all. It's just you'll be able to get the feeling that you can close them at the end of the day because you know you'll find them back. So still the tabular moving around is there, but you can actually close them when you want to restart your computer or switch workspaces. Then about reaching me, like I'm totally open to invites on Facebook. That's not a problem at all. So if you want to connect with me personally via Facebook, that is fine. I'll post my own link here. But we also have a community for HistorySearch, and how stuff more or less works. is I'll actually post the link to our community as well. So everything should be in the chat now. Did you guys receive it?
We do. We see it.
Cool. And so how it would work is like on the roadmap, people share like feature suggestions, bugs, etc., etc. And that's where we like structure everything together. And then what happens is in the Facebook community, we share either tips or more finalized ideas. So let's say we've got a new feature, let's say sharing collections, and we make a demo. Then we're going to share that demo in the Facebook community, and then people can comment there about how they like it before we really actually update or implement it, or maybe launch a beta version for people there too. So if you like to be a part of that stuff, we'd love to see you join.
Awesome. Well, good. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this webinar. I hope it was everything you wanted. And if you haven't already, head on over to AppSumo and grab HistorySearch while you can, because once those codes run out, they run out, guys. And like I said, this is one of those deals that you're going to use every day, every week, every month of your life, because it is it's that much of a utility. So again, I will be sending out a replay of this webinar later today. And thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.